What's up, guys? Welcome back to Diesel Creek. I'm out here at the farm today. I'm out here going to be doing some work on the shipping container shop. I'm walking up here on the shipping container shop just now. I come back here to look at something before I started the camera, and there's a buck been laying right here between the dozer and the auto car. The last couple times I've come out here, I scared him out, and I did manage to get a video of him with my phone this time. I'll put that in right here. This is the second time I've walked up on this deer. The other day he was sleeping in the building and I come out here and I startled him. I already took a bunch of pictures of him before I started this video. And I'm not really being that quiet, and he's just kind of hanging out here with me. Yeah, he's gonna start to walk away now, but he's not real scared. When I startled him out the other day, he didn't really run either. He ran out of the building and then he just kind of walked away. Oh well, he'll be here till November at least. So anyway, we're out here today and we are going to start working on getting a floor into this building. So as you guys can see, I've got this big pile of rubble, block, and concrete slabs and everything else. And what that is going to be for us is a base layer for the floor in this building. So anyway, this building, I built it out here in the middle of nowhere, and everybody asks me why. Why would you build that so far out there in the middle of nowhere? Seclusion. It's beautiful out here, isn't it? I don't like people. I like you guys, but I don't like people in my business. I just don't like neighbors. If I want to fire this thing up at 2 in the morning and load up a bulldozer on it, I want to be able to do that. I don't want somebody calling the cops and filing a noise complaint on me because I'm out here getting stuff done whenever I feel like it. So I like it out here. It's the middle of nowhere. It's peaceful. I don't have to worry about anybody worrying about what I'm doing. So I built the shipping container shop, and the most frequently asked questions I get asked about it are, where did you get that roof system? That thing's awesome. I know. I really lucked out on that. I didn't. Hey guys, real quick, I'm just going to stop you right there. My ADHD kicked in and I never did answer the question of where I got that from. I bought it off a buddy of mine. It was used. It was a freestanding building kit that he had, and I do not know the name of the manufacturer of it, unfortunately, so I can't help anybody out there. But there are other tubing building systems like this that I've seen online. Versa Tube, for example, I've seen, and it looks real similar to this. So if you're looking for something like that, I'd check them out and go from there. Anyways, back to my rambling. Buy it with the intention of doing this, but one of my buddies actually just kind of talked me into it. I already had the gray Connex box, and then I bought the roof, and I was just going to put the roof up and use the Connex box for one wall, and then the roof kit came with walls too. And I said, well, I'll put the wall on one side and the Connex box on the other. And they talked me into just buying another Connex box and making it the other wall, and it is quite a bit sturdier, I suppose. So it's 30 by 40. These are high cube containers, so they're 9.5 foot tall, 8 foot wide, 40 foot long. That means the building's 40 foot long, and then I got a 30 foot opening here between them. And what I want to do, I got one side enclosed already, but you guys haven't seen that video yet. I got another side to do over here, but after I got this side done, I started thinking, well, I might just be wasting my time closing in the knee wall there, because what I'd really like to do in the future here is continue that roof pitch out here as far as I can and have an overhang out here for like a lean-to, and then I would have dry storage up on top of the shipping containers, and then a place on the side here where I could put implements or trailers or whatever else, and then maybe even doing off of that side in the future. But you know, I can only tackle so many things at a time, and I guess it's probably better I just enclose it for now, and maybe down the road. Heck, I still haven't got my ridge cap on and my my tin, but that's one of the things I'm actually going to work on today, but you guys won't see that in this video. Anywho, this rubble here came from the church project, and if you haven't seen the church project, go ahead and click up here in the corner, and if you don't see the link there, it's down in the description. And the same thing for the building here. If you haven't seen the playlist of me putting this thing together, go ahead and click up here, or if you don't see it, it's down in the description. But like I said, all the rubble came from the church, and I'm going to start working it into here, and I'm going to bring the material up to the bottom of the containers and then I'll choke it in with some smaller gravel like I used on my driveway, and then top it with some really fine gravel so we have a good floor in here. And then I'll use the transit and make sure it's all perfectly level and proper. But I can't place anything in here with all this equipment in here, so we're going to go ahead and pull out the tractor, pull out the dozer, and pull out the auto car. So first on the list to pull out of the old barn here is my International 454 diesel. Don't get too much better than that. The only better than that you're going to get is the dozer. It starts up faster than anything else. This thing hasn't been started in well over a month. Next up, we're going to pull the old 1986 Komatsu D41A out of here. This is by far my favorite piece of machinery I own. Seems to be the most reliable as well, knock on wood. Haven't been using it much this year because it's got some pretty good hydraulic seals leaking on it. So I want to get those fixed before I really just waste a whole bunch of hydraulic oil. But anyway, this thing starts up faster than any other diesel I've ever messed with. I mean, you just breathe on the key and this thing's already running. So, and this thing hasn't been started in probably 2 months at least. So you guys wait and see. There's no glow plugs or anything on this. It does have a grid heater, but I never use it. Ready? Alright, there we go. We got the building cleaned out now. We can go ahead and come in here and start working. Before I get to it though, I'm going to explain to you my thought process here. So the bottom of the containers should be exactly the same as one another. So you can see the dirt's a little bit higher on this side, and it actually slopes down this way just a little bit. And then we got a bigger gap on this side, but the containers are within 1/10 of an inch of each other. I used the transit when I set them and leveled them, and they are very, very close to one another in elevation. So what we're gonna do, I probably won't use too much of the block in here. I'll probably try to stay away from putting that stuff in here. I'm gonna try to use just all the concrete chunks, and I'm gonna lay them down flat. And what I wanna do there is bring them up about 6 inches from the bottom of the containers. So I wanna leave room for 6 inches of big rock like I used on the driveway, and then top coat that with some 2A. Let that get packed in real good, and that'll make a nice floor for in here to work on. So the floor here is pretty lumpy and bumpy from everything getting driven around in it in the mud and dozer moving stuff. So we'll go ahead and come in with the skid loader first, knock down all the high spots, try to smooth it out a little bit. Back here at the back, when I made my diversion swale, there is a little bit of dirt that kind of worked its way down inside the line here. I'm gonna skim this off, and then I'm gonna leave like a 2-foot buffer back here for me to anchor the wall into. I don't want to have any big concrete chunks here because I might drill posts or pour a little teeny footer for the post to sit on, something like that. So I don't want to have to be fighting big concrete chunks. I'll just let that open for right now. I've also recently changed my mind about how I was going to enclose this back of the building. I was originally just going to wall the whole thing off, but now I think I'm going to leave a 10 or 12 foot sliding barn door on this thing. So yeah, we'll have to have a way in and out of here. And that step up out there to the slope that keeps the water from running in here, that we should be pretty much higher than that once we get the floor in here, so it will be non-issue as for getting in and out of here. I don't plan on taking stuff in and out this way too much, but it would be nice if, you know, you got everything filled in here and you can't get what you need out the front way. If you could sneak something out the back, would be pretty nice. Or, you know, who knows? You never know what the future holds, so you don't want to limit your possibilities. Anyway, let's saddle up the old skid loader here. I'll throw the bucket on there and we will get busy. As you can see, we got the floor a bit more level here. Got rid of all the Humpty Bumpties. So I'm not going to put plastic down underneath the concrete. I'm going to put the concrete in and choke it in with the bigger rock like I used on my driveway. And then I'll lay plastic over top of that after it's packed in good. And then I'll put 2A down on top of the fabric. And what that'll do is keep the bigger rocks from coming up through, because, you know, you want a smaller, finer, more compact surface where you're going to be working and doing stuff. You don't want any of those ankle busters eventually working themselves up through the floor. So my theory is I'll put the road fabric down over top of the bigger stuff, and that shouldn't allow that to happen. I think the floor looks good. We can go ahead and start bringing in some concrete now. All right, looks just perfect, doesn't it? That's a nice ankle busting floor right there. But it's not done yet. We are gonna get the bulldozer and track the living crap out of this, hoping I can bust up some of the concrete block and push all this stuff down into the dirt a little bit better, kind of get it seated. This whole corner back here where it was all just a nice flat concrete, that worked out really well. I think that's gonna be perfect. I didn't want to use the block, but quickly changed my mind when I realized I wasn't going to have near enough concrete. And as I said before, the subgrade was leaning this way, so the amount of fill that I needed down this way greatly, and well, not greatly, but it increased. So I could have fit the blocks in there better. Up at this end, if I put blocks in there, they really were probably too tall. Probably wouldn't squish or break enough to accommodate me. The section I left kind of bare over here is the spot that requires the least amount of fill to get up to the grade I want. So I kind of focused down here. I kind of triple layered it down here because if you go all the way back to the video where I cleared the spot that we're standing in right now to make this shop, there was one serious big silver maple tree, I want to say. I don't know, it was a big tree. And I had to dig a heck of a hole to get that tree down with my little machine. And so I have this soft spot up here now where that tree was. It's probably about 15 feet around, and it's pretty soft. The absolute best way to take care of a soft spot like that would be dig it all the way out down to the good virgin ground and then put good material, good hard clay back in there and lifts and pack it in and everything. But I really don't have a place around here to get good clay from without going and digging a big hole somewhere else and causing more problems. So I take this rubble, I just put it in there good, and I should be able to just track the living crap out of this thing, and it probably will be just fine in the future. Worst come to worst in the future, after this is all graveled, I might have to add some more gravel there. Not that big a deal. Because this just beats the living crap out of you and the machine. If you did this all day, every day with the machine, the undercarriage wouldn't last very long on it, I'll tell you that. Well, I don't know how well you guys could tell from that aerial view, but that worked wonders. Okay, that packed everything down super nice, broke all the blocks up that needed busting up. The only places that are still just a hair high are up here, like right up against the boxes, because, you know, obviously I can't get right up against the boxes. But it did a great job busting up just about everything. Now I just gotta get some rock in here and spread it out, and we'll grade that, cover it in the fabric, and go from there. Well, I hope you guys can see all right. I dropped the camera getting in the truck this morning, and I spider webbed the lens up. But a lot of times you guys can't even tell when that happens. Ask me how I know. You guys have seen a lot of videos through the lens of a messed up camera. But anyway, I'm in the dump truck. We're on the way out to the farm here this morning with a load of number ones on. We're gonna go start putting some gravel in that building. It's supposed to rain here later today, so I'm trying to beat the rain. So I'm getting ready to back the truck in here and dump off that rock. I can see that lens is showing up quite a bit for you guys, so we're gonna have to take care of that. We'll go ahead and get that rock dumped in here. I'm gonna bring the truck back as far as I can without hitting my trusses. And then we'll take the skid steer and feather it out here along the edges, fill in all the holes, and we'll bring it up to our subgrade grade and get her packed in. So there's our first load dumped. I'm guessing it's going to take at least 3, maybe 4 loads to do this. So I'm going to go get 2 more loads before I even bother to start spreading this. Because, I mean, no matter how much I get, I've got places to use it. So let's go get some more rock. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get the skid steer. We'll knock these piles down, spread it out nice. I am gonna leave just right around the corner of both containers open so that I can do a little bit better job supporting those and getting them kind of set up for the long haul. But easily just fill that in with gravel later, no big deal. Alrighty, now we got our rock kind of roughed in here, and I'm sure it's high in a couple spots, and I'm sure it's low in some others. And I've actually got another truckload sitting out there, so if we need some more, we got it. But what I'm going to do right now is fire up the old laser transit here. And I have kind of covered these a little bit in the past on a couple videos. But if you don't know anything about these, basically what this thing does is it'll automatically level itself and project a perfectly fat laser beam across the whole area. And what you'll do is you walk around out there in your grade and you use this thing, which is a laser detector or laser receiver, and you work off of a point that you can establish. So now we can hold this thing up right here, and right there, that should be the top of our number ones, the subgrade. So now we just take this rover apart and we roam around out here. And we can check our grade all through here. Now, I mean, once you do this enough, you can kind of look at the grade and just see the high spots and the low spots, but it does take an eye for it. And I don't care how good you are, you're not as good as this thing. So you go around the whole area that you're trying to grade off, kind of in a grid fashion. I'll walk down through here, check it 4 places, zigzag all the way across the whole building, checking it about 4 or 5 places all the way across here. And that'll kind of get you an idea of what you need to do once you get back in the machine. The first pass, I usually don't make any marks because it's usually pretty rough. I usually can just kind of mentally remember where the highs and the lows are. So you cut the highs and fill the lows. And then once you get it pretty close, then I usually take a can of paint and mark the ground where it needs to change at. So you'll mark -1, cut an inch out of there, or +2 and add 2 inches of material there. But working with big rock like this, you can only get it so close. You know, this stuff, you know, how do you take 2 inches off of that rock? You don't. So what you do is you get it as close as you can and then pack it in good, and then add smaller material on top of it to get it perfectly graded. So what I found out with my little beepy thing there was that this front here, not so bad, pretty close. And about the back half here, pretty low, a couple inches low everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump that last load off out here on this little bit of rubble that's still exposed and not covered up. And we will distribute some of that, just kind of sprinkler in there and fill in these gaps along the edges yet. Then we'll go ahead and fire up that whacker packer and pack it in good. All right, we got our rock pretty well roughed in. It's not finish graded yet. Before you finish grade, I always like to compact because the rock's gonna settle down. I always put it in a little bit high and then just figure on it's gonna settle and compact a bit. So this big greasy beautiful thing here is probably an early 80s Case brand plate tamper. It's a big one. It's a self-propelled plate tamper. I think this thing weighs in the neighborhood of almost 2,000 pounds, 1,800 pounds. Pretty darn heavy. So, not mine. The neighbor was nice enough to let me borrow it. I really hate asking to borrow things, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. So we'll get this thing fired up, and we'll be off to the races. This thing ought to really whack that bigger rock in good. I have a smaller plate tamper, and I have big rollers. The big rollers aren't working right now, otherwise I would use them. And my smaller plate tamper, I don't really see packing this as good as it would need to be. So anyway, here's how you start this thing. All right, since I'm done with the compactor here, it's a nice uniform flat surface now, but I just checked it with the transit again, and the whole thing is pretty flat, but it is low. It has sunk pretty good from the compactor there. So I got another load of rock there. We're just gonna put a thin layer across the whole thing and check it again. Okay, well, the other day I was in a hurry, so I just packed the spot right here that I have this stone sitting in, slapped down the plastic and dumped the load so I could get out of here. So when I went to completely pack the rest of this stone in today, I had a string of bad luck with my compactors here. This one here being the neighbor's. If it was mine, I'd still run it like this, but I'm not gonna break his stuff. The fuel tank mounts here are busted, and he told me they were like that, but he had them wedged with some washers and cranked down. Well, this bolt over here has stripped out, and this one here just isn't really biting anything, so the fuel tank is wobbling around on there loose, and the only thing that's really holding it from falling outward this way is this return line. So we're not going to run that guy. And then I grabbed my little tamper. I had most of it done with the big tamper. I just had a little strip right here I wanted to do. So I grabbed my little plate tamper, and I broke the recoil start on it. Well, I didn't really break it, but see, the return spring kind of crapped the bed. So anyway, I rolled this whole little strip in with the pickup, or with the dump truck there with a load on it as best I could, which may arguably be better than even using the big tamper. We're gonna go ahead and finish spreading out the fabric and spread that little bit of rock out. dump that load on there and go get more. Okay, so I have discussed this fabric before on the channel. This is not plastic. I mean, it is made of plastic, but it's not just plastic sheeting. This is a woven geotextile, and its purpose is typically to keep rock layers separated or whatever it is you're installing. But I primarily use it underneath roads, driveways, things of that nature, to keep mud from coming up through the rock. I saw a comment on one of my videos the other day that said I was the only one still using a folding razor utility knife. I don't know about you guys, I couldn't live without this thing. This is my go-to for pretty much everything. So I think that guy that commented was wrong, no offense to him, but I beg to differ. I know a lot of people that carry these knives. If you guys carry one of these knives or like these knives, go ahead and drop me a comment down below. Let me know. I don't know about you guys, but I am whooped. That took it all out of me today. It's a long day. I've got it just about done. This is, I mean, this stuff packs like concrete, and it will get harder over time too. It's still kind of wet right now. After this stuff completely dries out, it'll give it even harder. I didn't fine grade it yet. I was gonna, but as you can see, I left this hole at the back here because I'm not sure what I'm doing with the wall enclosure yet. So I'm gonna have to bring more gravel in once I get a wall in, because I left it a few feet shy, so I wasn't fighting all the gravel when I do that wall. So no sense worrying about it right now if I'm gonna be bringing more rock in, because right here it starts to slope off somewhere around my foot, and slopes down. So it's going to take a good bit of rock there, and then the same thing up here at the entrance. It starts to slope out, and I didn't want to fill in the corners because I still want to pour a little bit of concrete underneath the corners of the boxes yet, so I didn't fill those in. But that's still a vast improvement. Like I said, I do want to fine grade it yet, and when that time comes, I'll cover it, of course, in the video, but I want to keep it a good fine grade. That way when you're working on something, you know, you can actually count that the floor is pretty level. If something looks like it's leaning, you know, you can be like, yeah, okay, that's leaning, not just, oh, it's sitting on a crooked floor. What else? Also, you know, if you bring a wet piece of equipment in here, this stuff packs so tight that it'll hold water. So if you bring something in the wintertime with a bunch of snow on it in here and it melts off, if there's like a low spot or something, it'll make a puddle, and I don't want to deal with that because that'll turn into a frozen sheet of ice in the winter, and I'll come in here and bust my arse, and we don't need that. But anyways, guys, that's the end of the video for today. If you liked it, don't forget to give me a big old thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Later.